take these two pieces here and run a groove all the way up, stopping about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, and that'll be our pieces for our top. Okay, the next thing I want to do to these leg parts is cut this arc in the bottom of each piece, one on the front and one on the side. And I'll use this piece as a pattern to do my layout, and I think I'll cut them over on the bandsaw. Well, I suppose I could have cut these with my saber saw, and I could have cut them one at a time, but I like to put them in pairs because it just makes the operation go faster. Now you begin to see what the front and sides of our blanket chest are going to look like. Now this happens to be a front, and there's one more piece I have to make, and it's this center stile. I have to put a tongue in each end so that it'll fit in this groove that we've made for the panels. And I'll do that over here on the table saw. Now with my center stile in place, I'm ready to start working on my panels. And I'm going to build those out of solid 3/4 inch stock. But I want to make the panels 3/16 of an inch bigger than this opening on all 4 sides. And to cut them, I'll just use my stationary saw. Okay, that takes care of the ripping and cross-cutting of our panels. Now I want to put a rabbet in them. So I have to readjust my fence so that I'm over 1/4 of an inch to the outside of the blade. And I want to reset the height to about 1/2 an inch. And I don't need my T-square anymore. And I'll run the panels through on the flat. Okay, to remove the rest of this material right here, I'm going to reset the fence. And now I want to have 1/4 of an inch, about 1/4 of an inch or a little less between the blade and the fence. And I want to lower it so that it's about 1/4 of an inch above the table. Lower the blade so it's 1/4 of an inch above the table. With all my rabbiting done, you can see that when it's assembled, I'm going to end up with a nice recessed panel here. But on the inside, because I'm using full thickness stock for strength, I'm going to have this sharp edge, and I want to knock that corner off on the table saw. This is going together quite well. Everything's fitting fine. And you know, when we glue this up, we just put glue on these stiles and rails on the tenons. We don't want to get glue on the panels. We don't want to put glue in the grooves for the panels, because if we did that, the expansion and contraction of the panel might cause it to split. So that just kind of floats in the frame itself. So a good liberal coat of glue here, and then we just put it together and clamp it. Just enough pressure so the glue starts to squeeze out. Okay, you notice that I've done an additional thing to the back here, and this is really optional. I took this rear stile, the top stile, and I ripped it on the table saw so that it reduced the width here by about 1/8 of an inch. And that gives me a little recess for this piano hinge to sit in. And that'll allow the top to close nice and flat. Well, with all this gluing done, I guess we're ready to start continuing some work on our top. At this point, I've calculated that my top should be cut to 39 3/4 inches. Now, this panel cutter that I use to square up the top is a real handy device. It's just a big T-square, piece of plywood with a stop on the front of it, and underneath we have a spline that just runs in the standard groove of the saw. Now, with the cross-cutting and squaring done, I'm ready to rip, and I've already set my fence at 19 inches. Now, in order to put this breadboard on the edge of our top, I need to make a tongue for this groove. And to do that, I'm just using my handheld router with a rabbiting bit. And this little ball bearing here rides on the wood so that just the right amount of material is taken out. Watch. Okay, here's a little detail you remember. We want to cut off a little bit of this tongue. And the reason for that is because when we made the breadboard edge, we stopped a little bit short, so the tongue won't show through the end. And now it'll just fit on like this. Now we're ready to glue it up. Again, all you need is just a little pressure with these clamps, just to hold everything together while the glue sets up. I'm going to put this on the side, and I think it's time we get back to the side pieces, and they can be unclamped. And this is the time, and actually there's no better time than now to sand the inside of our blanket chest. And to do that, I'm just going to use my standard palm sander, and that'll remove any of the marks and even up all the joinery so that it'll be perfect. Now, this little cleat that I'm installing at the lower edge of the inside panel will support the bottom of our blanket chest. Oh, a little more glue and some clamps. And as you can see, this chest is really starting to come together. It's not a bad idea to check it for square at this point. And if the two diagonal measurements are exactly the same as they are in this one, it's perfectly square. Okay, a little bit of glue on our cleats. Piece of 1/2-inch plywood. Nice cut, nice and square for the bottom. 1/2-inch plywood. We'll fasten it down with a few screws, and then we'll line it with some cedar. I'm using my miter box to cut all my pieces of cedar. And you notice the manufacturer has grooved and tongued all 4 edges of this material. So it's real easy to install. And really, you only have to cut 1 piece in each row of cedar we're going to put here in the bottom of the chest. Now, to hold it in place, I'm just using a construction or panel adhesive. And I'll run a bead along the edge. And then some shorter beads out. And just simply set our cedar right into it. All right, that takes care of the bottom. Now I guess we're ready to finish the top. Well, that's not too bad. Nice and solid. Got some good weight to it. And this piano hinge works very nicely. And I can smell that cedar from way up here. Now all I got to do is figure out how I want to finish it. So first, a coat of sanding sealer on the entire chest, inside and out, except for the aromatic cedar, because I don't want to seal out that great fragrance. Okay, with that sanding sealer dried and lightly sanded, I have the perfect base to start my finishes. The sanding sealer sort of fills any voids or imperfections in the wood, and when it's sanded, I have a nice smooth surface for that first coat of finish. And in this case, it's going to be a satin polyurethane. And now for the second and final coat of polyurethane. And this will give me a nice, durable finish. And you know, the thing that's really nice about it is that unlike the old varnishes, the urethanes don't yellow. So I'm going to be able to appreciate the natural beauty of this pine for many years.